The shocking truth behind Nico Harrison getting fired is actually more interesting than we thought. As we all know, Mark Cuban is the minority owner of the team after he sold the team to Patrick Dumont and Miriam Adelson. So yes, Mark Cuban has a voice in the front office. He has an opinion on the decision makings of the team, but ultimately the final say-so on anything that this team does falls on Patrick Dumont, and we saw that all year from back in February when we traded away Luka Doncic. Patrick Dumont signed off on it all the way up to just last Tuesday, where Patrick Dumont signed off on Nico Harrison getting fired. But it wasn't just Patrick Dumont waking up one day and just tired of the team losing, tired of all the fire Nico chants that he made that decision. An article came out just the other day highlighting how both Mark Cuban as well as Jason Kidd both played a huge part in Nico Harrison getting fired. So in this video, we're going to take a look at that article, see what it has to say about Mark Cuban, Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd, Patrick Dumont, and what is really going on behind the scenes. But how's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavs Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before you start with today's video, we're currently sitting at 22,846 subscribers. The channel is growing every single day. And if you want to be a part of the best digest channel out of all other digest channels, out of all of YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on a single thing that we do. But the Dallas Mavericks have had their ups and downs all season long, as from February, we traded away Luka Doncic, which ultimately led the team to losing many games, having a lot of injuries, where we did get the #1 pick, where we got Cooper Flagg. We went into the offseason trying to get prepared. We come into the regular season, and we're now 3-10, and everything that has happened this year has led up to the final decision that came out last Tuesday, where the Dallas Mavericks have fired GM Nico Harrison after 4 years with the team. And this should come to no surprise. The team was not successful. Fans were very upset. There were no, I think one of our games, our home games, was not a sold out game, which was the first time in a very long time where the Dallas Mavericks have not sold out a single home game. The writing was on the wall when it came to Nico Harrison. It wasn't a matter of if, but when he would get fired. But the most interesting part about Nico Harrison getting fired that not many people know about is who was the influence. Now, obviously, a lot of people would assume that Patrick Dumont just realized the obvious and made the decision to fire Nico Harrison, but there was more at play. We'll take a look right here. We had a report where Christian Clark of The Athletic reports that Jason Kidd and those loyal to him supported Mark Cuban's sentiment that Nico Harrison was leading the Mavs franchise in the wrong direction. Kidd clearly was at odds with Harrison over the roster, and this coincides with another report that we got where Jason Kidd clashed with Nico Harrison over the roster's direction. The two disagreed on player rotations early this season. So not only was it Mark Cuban being in Patrick Dumont's ear just telling him, hey, Nico Harrison is not putting us in the right direction from almost every aspect of this organization. Nico Harrison has overstepped his boundaries. As a GM, yes, you should be involved in every aspect of your organization as you are the general manager. You should manage the team in all facets. But you do hire people for a reason. You hire those in the health department with the trainers, with the health directors to make sure that the team's overall health is taken care of. But what Nico Harrison shouldn't be doing is overstepping those boundaries, where with Luka Doncic, he was trying to push Luka to come back early and didn't like how Luka had his own personal training team. But with Anthony Davis, Nico Harrison was totally fine with Anthony Davis having his own trainers, his own personal health team, but he also wanted to rush Anthony Davis back. That's something that ours or even Anthony Davis's medical team should be making those decisions, not Nico Harrison. And then if you want to take a look at the coaching situation, Nico Harrison was overstepping his boundaries by making Jason Kidd play different rotations, different lineups to start the season, where now I think it's perfectly clear that to put Cooper Flagg at point guard was not Jason Kidd nor any of the other coaches' decision. That was a Nico Harrison decision. Nico Harrison, for whatever reason, wanted Cooper Flagg to be the next Luka Doncic, where I guess he thought fans would just forget about Luka. You got Cooper Flagg. He does the same exact thing, where now we don't see Cooper Flagg playing point guard. Now we see actual point guards in the game. The Dallas Mavericks, at one point in the season, very early on, we had one point guard play a total of 9 minutes, and that was the most minutes given to any point guard. So not only is he overstepping his boundaries in the health department, he's also overstepping his boundaries in the coaching department. And I understand, as a GM, your main focus is to sign players, trade players, contract negotiation, get the best staff possible, but it seems like that wasn't enough for Nico Harrison. He wanted absolute control in every facet of this organization. But just the other day, we do have an article that came out that details everything titled Mavericks Rumors, the role Jason Kidd and Mark Cuban played in Nico Harrison's firing, and the article as follows. Saying the Dallas Mavericks front office turmoil reached its boiling point when the organization fired general manager Nico Harrison, ending a chaotic tenure defined by the controversial trade that sent Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers and fractured the franchise. But the move did not come without pressure from familiar voices inside the organization, and it continues by saying that according to multiple reports, minority owner Mark Cuban and head coach Jason Kidd played key roles in convincing team governor Patrick Dumont that Harrison had lost control of the Mavericks. Cuban, who still owns roughly a quarter of the team, had grown increasingly frustrated after being pushed out of basketball operations when he sold his majority stake to the Dumont and Allison family in late 2023. ESPN reported that Cuban had been lobbying Dumont for months to make a leadership change, arguing that Harrison's decision, most notably the Doncic deal, had set the franchise back years. Mark Cuban has been working on this all summer long. In our last video where we talked about Dirk and how he felt about it, Dirk said it himself that firing Nico Harrison probably should have happened over the summer. We shouldn't have gone into the season with that dark cloud over the organization, over the fans. And this report coincides with that. Yes, Dirk said it should happen over the summer. Mark Cuban has been working over the last several months. We could say since June at least, at the very least since June, Mark Cuban has been trying to get Patrick Dumont to see what is going on. Obviously, Patrick probably wanted to see how the team looked. I think a lot of us wanted to see what this team could do if fully healthy. Knowing we didn't have Kyrie Irving, but we had everybody else, sure, let's go into the regular season. Let's see how we start off. Let's see how we play. And if things look good, we'll leave it alone. And I think that's rightfully so. That is fair. But if the team throughout the first 13 games of the season are 3-10, then maybe we need to pivot from our current direction and go in a completely different direction, which we saw to be true as he did fire Nico Harrison. But the article does continue by saying Kidd also reportedly clashed with Harrison over the roster's direction. The two disagreed on player rotations early this season. Ultimately, Kidd's choice to rely on untested guards underscored the divide. Kidd's leverage only grew last summer when Dallas extended his contract after both the Knicks and Lakers showed interest in hiring him. That extension gave the coach more security than anyone in the front office. In the end, that ensured his influence in any organizational shakeup. So that alone should tell you a few things. One, if any of you think that we should fire Jason Kidd, it's not going to happen. Patrick Dumont is relying, as well as Mark Cuban, are both relying heavily on Jason Kidd going forward, whether that's coaching decisions, player decisions, decisions to blow up the team, trade, or keep players. Jason Kidd is now a part of the front office now that we fired Nico Harrison. We've had many reports showing that, yes, Patrick is going to rely heavily on Jason Kidd to the point where some people think Jason Kidd may be our next GM. But ultimately, the issues that we saw to start the season, putting Cooper Flagg at point guard, continuously doing it even though it didn't work, that was not Jason Kidd's decision. Jason Kidd did not want to do it. He just said, sure, I'll listen to my boss, until he had enough, where he just couldn't deal with it anymore and decided to actually play D'Angelo Russell, to actually play Brandon Williams. And since then, we've had some rough games with D'Lo as a starter, but Brandon Williams over the last several games has been great as a starter. The other day against the Los Angeles Clippers, D'Lo was good off the bench, one of our bright spots, where it is kind of give or take. But overall, Jason Kidd, hopefully moving forward, does a better job coaching, and arguably any of the games we played before Nico getting fired really shouldn't count against him, as he had his hands tied. And that goes back to what I said earlier about how Nico Harrison wanted total control. He wants control over the roster, over the coaching decisions, over the health decisions. And that does not sound like something that you'd want out of your GM. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think that it was a right decision to fire Nico Harrison, that he had too much control, he wanted too much control? Or do you think that, hey, the Dallas Mavericks, it is what it is. Whether he's here or not, that won't change the outcome. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We can have a conversation about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. And as always, y'all, take care. Drink water. Peace.